Quickfire Premier League predictions for the 23-24 seasons. Let's do this. Let me know down below if you disagree with anything I say. You probably will. And let me know your predictions down below as well. To kick things off with, we're going to do the second top goal scorer. I'm going to leave Haaland out of it. I just think it's too obvious. It's too obvious. I can't put him in there. I'm going to go for Ollie Watkins. I just think Aston Villa have a huge chance of doing well this season, and I think he will be the main man for them. He's already a top-class goal scorer, so he's going to get goals whatever happens, really. But with the addition of Diaby alongside Leon Bailey on the other wing, I just think they're going to be flying left, right and centre. Aston Villa will get a lot of goals. If they exceed where they finished last season, I could see him doing very well. 20 plus goals. I could see him getting up to like 27, 28 to be honest. And I think that is more than enough to get second place. And now we're going to move on to the top assists next season in the Premier League. And it's going to be for one of Arsenal's most consistent attackers. No, not Odegaard, not Saka, not Martinelli. I'm going for Leandro Trossard. I don't know. I have a feeling he will do very well next season. I don't know if he's going to start every game. He probably won't. He'll probably come off of the bench. But he's going to assist a lot of goals. He's going to score a lot of goals as well. But I just think he has it in his locker. Off of the left wing, he'll play in that midfielder number 8 role as well. I think Arteta will use him. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to provide goals for people next season. And I also think he had an underrated season, honestly. He was killing it for Brighton. He came to Arsenal. Didn't get like the most game time. He's still got a lot of goal involvement when he signed for Arsenal in January. Now we're going to get to a fun one. The most red cards next season. Now I'm going to go for Wolves. Wolves last season had the most red cards, and I think they're going to have the most again here. They had 6 red cards last season. The next up was I think Chelsea with 3. So I mean they were double last season. I think it will continue. They just signed Matt Doherty again, and there's a lot of tricky left wingers in this league. I could very much see him getting another red, but it's very difficult to predict this. I mean, Man United last season, Casemiro gets a couple red cards. You just never know how it's going to go. But Wolves are there for me, probably the most reds. And I'm going to have to stay with Wolves here, and it is the first manager to be sacked. I'm going for Lopetegui. And just like that, Lopetegui's already gone. Luckily, I've got another selection, but mad. I literally recorded this yesterday, and he's already left. Jesus Christ. Let's get back to the video. But a close second to that, I do have to give a little mention of David Moyes. I just think West Ham are not in the best place. I think after selling Declan Rice, they are struggling to recoup and use that money in the best places. I'm seeing that they're now trying to get McTominay and Maguire. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think if it doesn't go well at the start of the season, there will be a lot of pressure on David Moyes. But the only thing that makes him not the favourite for me is he has just won European silverware. So I think he does have more leeway than a Lopetegui. Now we're going to go to the Golden Glove. Who is going to get the most clean sheets next season? Now, I thought this was quite tough, but the more I looked into it, I think it's quite obvious. I went for Edison. And I think the main reason for this is probably that signing of Gvardiol. I just think they're adding a brilliant young player to an already world-class defence. They're already going to be stopping a lot of shots next season. I could just see Edison not having the hardest time in most games. So I think that in itself is a good enough reason. But also, you just look at the frailties in other teams, and you can see with Man United, they have Onana, sweeper keeper. He is going to make mistakes. He's going to be brilliant for them, I think, in the long run. But he will make mistakes along the way. He plays a risky game. Ramsdale, Arsenal play a very high line. We get caught on the counter-attack very often, and we do concede silly goals. So again, I don't see us having the most clean sheets. Chelsea's defence is too chop and change for me, and I don't know which keeper they're going for. Obviously, they just signed Brighton's Sanchez. I don't rate Sanchez too much. I think he's got the potential to be a decent keeper. But again, I don't really see him or Kepa keeping enough clean sheets with their chop and change defence. Liverpool's defence, you just never know what you're going to get. It could be brilliant, it could be shaky. I don't know if Trent's going to stay in defence or he's going to move to midfield. That would be a big factor as well. But I just think as well with Liverpool, they've had such a shake-up in midfield with Henderson and possibly Fabinho going. I don't know if the new midfield is going to be defensive enough, maybe. We'll see. And a quick mention, I think Newcastle as well. I think they're probably the closest, I would say, to City in terms of defence. But I just think overall, City's defence is just a lot more superior. So you've got to go for Edison. Now, this is the prediction that could make me look stupid at the end of the season. And it could make a lot of people look stupid at the end of the season. But the biggest flop next season, for me, I think it's going to be Tonali. Now, this could have went to a lot of different players, don't get me wrong, and I might be being harsh. But it's his first Premier League season. It's a lot more intense than Serie A. I've seen as well in pre-season, he's already been caught out a couple times on the counter-attacks. He's a bit slower in midfield. I think he's going to have to rely too heavily on Joe Linton, and if Joe Linton isn't playing well, I think they'd struggle in a lot of these games in the Premier League. Not to mention, if his heart isn't in Newcastle and Eddie Howe's system, it's still in Milan, again, he might lose that motivation to really go at it in the Premier League, which, again, could be a big factor. He might not be as big a signing as we once thought. But yeah, I think he might have one of the worst seasons in terms of expectation and where he should be. I think he'll fall off a little bit. Now, start signing debutant. So, a signing that came in his first Premier League season. I'm going to go for Jurrien Timber. Now, again, Arsenal fan, so I have watched him a lot in pre-season. It's harder to judge all of the other teams because I can't watch every single pre-season game for every team. But from what I've seen of Jurrien Timber, he has by far been Arsenal's best signing so far. Trumping Rice, trumping Havertz, he's just been phenomenal. And I think that inverted role that Arteta likes to play, he's perfect. He's the perfect fit. And I just think he's going to get more than enough game time next season. And a lot of fans will be envious that Arsenal have this player. Obviously, Kieran Tierney, Tomiyasu, and Zinchenko, they're very injury prone. I could see him playing a lot on the left-hand side next season, as Ben White has been so impressive on the right. But he just plays that inverted role perfectly on both sides we've seen in pre-season. Not to mention he can also play centre-back. It's just perfect. Now on to the most improved player for next season. Now, there's a lot of different ways I could have went around this. I could have went for maybe a lower mid-table team and a player I think will excel. Maybe there's a few Villa boys that could possibly be in this mix, maybe a couple Brighton. But for me, I actually went further up the table, and that is Phil Foden. Now, you might think, how can he improve that much more? I just think he's going to get a lot more game time this season. I don't think he got enough last season. He did play a fair few games. He had a little injury. I think he had his appendix taken out midway through the season, and then he was benched for a few games. He was left out of the squad for a few games. It was just a bit too chop and change for me. And I think with Mahrez going, and I think with Gundogan going, I think there's going to be more opportunity for Foden to shine next season. You kind of saw in the Community Shield game that Foden kind of played a deeper role. He kind of played more behind the striker, which I think he'll prefer. I actually think I would play him there more alongside like a De Bruyne. And I think he'd thrive there. So I can see him doing very well this season. And not to mention as well, he's still got 11 goals, 5 assists last season in the Premier League. Like he had an exceptional season when he was barely playing. I think if he's actually getting consistent game time, he's going to be miles clear of last season. Now, we've just had the most improved player. Now we're going to go to the most improved team. And I feel like this is going to be a team on everyone's list. And it's going to be Aston Villa. Now, not only have they kept all of their players who were doing really well last season, they're also bringing in signings, and Diaby, Tielemans, Torres, really good signings. Now Tielemans obviously so much Premier League experience, and he's just been there, done that. He knows the Premier League inside and out. He's a quality midfielder. I think he'll fit into their current midfield with ease. And Torres, an excellent centre-back, to be honest. He's a really underrated centre-back. I think he'll do quite well with them as well. Next to Mings, I think solid. And last but not least, Diaby. Diaby He could be at any of the clubs in the Premier League, honestly. I could see him even fitting into a City side. I think he's that good. I think he has the potential to be even better. But him and Leon Bailey on each wing with Ollie Watkins in the middle, it's dangerous, man. And I think pre-season is important. Arsenal had an exceptional pre-season last year, and you see how positive and how much that momentum helped them going into the season. Aston Villa went 6 games unbeaten in pre-season, and they've been flying. They just beat Lazio, they've beaten Fiorentina, they got a 3-3 draw with Newcastle. I don't know, they just seem on it this season. So I would be very, very, very surprised if they finish like lower than maybe 7th. But I think they'll do better than they did last season. And now we're going to look at the biggest drop-off in terms of teams. And again, I found this very difficult. You've got your Wolves, you've got your West Hams. I actually don't think I want either of those two in there. I don't think that they were that good last season. So if they drop off even further, they're getting relegated. And I don't know. I don't think it's as big a drop-off as these other teams that I'm looking at. You guys can help me, but I've got 2 on the list. Which one will have the biggest drop-off? Let me know. We're going to start with Fulham. Now, Mitrovic has already said,
"Oh, I'm never playing for Fulham again."
So then what do Fulham do? They sign Raul Jimenez.
Am I a joke to you?
Now, I'm not sure who came up with that idea. Jimenez, yes, at Wolves a few seasons ago, he was banging in goals. Last season, he played 15 and he got an assist. Yeah. I just don't think that's going to fill in the gap of goals that Mitrovic scored for them in the past couple of seasons. I just think they're going to have to heavily now rely on people like Willian. And hey, you never know. Willian could have an incredible season. He could be firing left, right and centre. He could be assisting Jimenez all day long, but I don't see it. Now, I would argue with Fulham, did they overperform last season? Possibly. I think I might be being harsh, but I could see them being maybe like 16th, 17th this season, which is kind of where I think a lot of people predicted them last season. So it's just the biggest drop-off from last season's position, essentially. But I don't think they'll go down, but I don't think they're going to do anything special. And the other one on my list is Brentford. Now, I might get slandered for this, but I just don't see them doing well at all. And I've been so wrong about Brentford before, but I just don't see them doing that well this season. And one of the main reasons for this is Ivan Toney being out on a suspension for a lot of the beginning of the season at least. I just think they could fall behind if they're not finding them goals. Mbeumo is a solid player. I think he will get goals, but nowhere near as many as Toney for me. And I just think they're going to miss that key part. I don't know. There might be a bit of a weird unrest in the changing rooms with that old Toney situation. Alongside as well, if David Raya goes in goal, he's been heavily linked to Arsenal. That actually looks to be completed or almost completed. Still think that's a mental move if he does go. But I do think he saved them a lot of points last season. And I don't think keepers like Flecken will keep up with how good Raya was last season. So for me, I think Brentford will fall off massively. Obviously, they just done so well last season, like Fulham. I don't see them having as good a season this year, especially with the competition. Like, you know that Chelsea's going to get better, Villa's going to get better. It's going to be tough for them. But yeah, let me know your guys' quickfire predictions down below. And let me know if I've horribly messed up on any of these. I probably have. And we'll look back at this at the end of the season. And I'll be like... So make sure you see that because it's going to be a thrilling video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. Big up yourselves. See you later.